Hey, welcome back to the channel, my fellow weather junkies. I'm your host, Greg Majeski, your personal weatherman here, bringing you weather without all that social media hype here on the special Christmas Eve edition, December 24th, 2024. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we're tracking here for today, as we are looking at some Christmas Eve thunderstorms here, especially across portions of East Texas. I'll show you the specific locations on that. We're going to wrap up 2024 with above normal temperatures, but don't get used to it because we've got some big changes coming, as it looks like we may see one of several major Arctic invasions that'll take place as we go into January. And I'll explain again why we're going to be seeing that. That trend is still looking like January could become quite nippy a little bit later in the month. Now, before we get going, first I want to thank all the new subscribers to the channel. We've almost got up to 5,600, so if you please like to join our family, please hit that subscribe button. It'll be a pleasure and honor to have you on board here as one of your weather sources out there in the YouTube universe. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at what we're tracking here this morning. We do have a little bit of snow on this Christmas Eve coming up into the northeast. Southeast not looking too bad. They'll be seeing milder temperatures down here or there. We've got some rains across Arkansas, and we're going to be watching this portion of East Texas, basically from Dallas down to Houston and over near Louisiana. That's going to be our area to watch there. West Coast, they're getting hammered pretty good, getting some pretty good rain, some interior and mountain snows. That's that system. And then we got another one back behind it coming on board. So a very active and aggressive weather pattern continues to batter portions of the West Coast, especially the Northwest. All right, we do have some of these winter weather advisories up into the Northeast with that little bit of snow moving through there. Some foggy conditions up here in the high plains, Texas, and down toward Florida. And of course, very breezy, very active here on the West Coast with the higher elevation snows. That'll continue to be a problem as these storm systems continue to plow on in to that region. So looking at our morning surface map, we do have a cold front moving on through here. This is relatively cold, not really overly bad for this time of year, that's for sure. Not nearly as cold as that last batch, but this is pushing the snows up into the northeast. We got the rains down here in the south, rains all up and down the west coast from Seattle all the way down to San Francisco. The interior is getting some pretty good heavy rains there. We'll focus in on some of this rain here across Arkansas. We'll see some of the rains moving through Russellville, Fort Smith, coming back into areas of Oklahoma. McAllister getting some rains, and it's going to be the areas south of there that we're going to be worried about for later today, as that is the target zone from the Storms Prediction Center for today for the potential for some active severe weather. Let's go ahead and take a look at that day one outlook here. As you can see, it kind of highlighting, so this is that marginal risk for severe weather. This is the first of a couple of rounds I think we're going to see in the forecast period. Also got a couple of thunderstorms possible out here on the West Coast as well, with a pretty vigorous system that's moving in out there. But that's just a general threat for thunderstorms out there on the West Coast as far as your day one outlook is concerned. Now, what about your day two? How's that looking here as we look for day two going into your Christmas day? I think it's going to be not as bad. So we're looking here again, just a general thunderstorm threat here along the Gulf Coast here across Mississippi, parts of Louisiana and Texas, a little pocket back here across the Texas Panhandle, up and down the West Coast again from Washington State down into northern portions of California. Even seeing a few thunderstorms down here in the Keys as well going into your Christmas day. And then as far as the next day is concerned, going into day three, that's when it becomes more vigorous once again as we watch another round for severe weather, almost in the exact same location as today, a little bit bigger location area here. Arkansas, Texas, Louisiana. You know, so we got that slight risk for severe weather for that day. Again, that's going to be going into your 26th and into the 27th. And we still got a general thunderstorm threat out here on the West Coast as well, from Washington State down into Northern California. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at what we're going to see here as far as the excessive rainfall amounts. Obviously, we got thunderstorms here. You know you're going to get a chance of seeing some excessive rain here. So let's go take a look at your day one outlook here. As you can see, we've got that heavy rain threat here across, obviously, the southeast, where we got the rain kind of falling this morning, and it'll continue into tonight. And the interior sections out here into California. These are two zones that we're kind of watching right here and back over here. This is what we're going to be watching here for your day one outlook. Now, as far as the day two outlook is concerned, let's take a look at that one. All right, so it looks like this will begin to shift off a little bit here. We can see that we'll have a day break. So Christmas Day not looking bad, except for areas there up into the Pacific Northwest from Washington State again, down into areas of Oregon. So that's where we're watching there for our day two. All right, and then day three, obviously, we got that issue out coming into the south central portion of the United States once again, where that severe risk is. Obviously, we'll have heavy rain risk with that coming in from Arkansas. And then we got a bigger swath out here on the West Coast again, coming into Washington down into Northern California, basically from Seattle down to San Francisco, seeing the heavy rain threat there. So we're definitely getting a little more active here for this week ahead, as we're going to see milder temperatures and the risk of running some active severe weather. That kind of put this all together. The hazards outlook is kind of showing this pretty well for the next 3 to 7 days. And another area that I do want to include in here for heavy rain risk here potential, just kind of putting my 2 cents in here, will be down in here as well a little bit later in the week. That'll be going into the weekend there. So we got this 2 little areas of heavy rain risk, and you got the rain and a lot of wind out here. You notice that brown in there? That, my friends, is the very gusty winds out there with those vigorous storm systems coming in out on the west coast. So that's what we're seeing there. All right, now it's time to wrap all this together. So let's put this together in a nice little bow, shall we? We're going to first start off by taking a look at the short-term model. So we're looking at the high-resolution model here for the next 40 hours or so. Take you up to about midnight on Christmas night, okay? So the areas we're going to watch, obviously, we got the snow here for this morning across the northeast. We're going to be watching this area right here. Looks like a squall line be developing down here. And this system here will be moving on the interior, and then there'll be another one following in on it late on Christmas Day. So let's go ahead and watch this first. We'll watch the snows start to clear out of the northeast throughout the morning hours going into the afternoon. By the time we get to about, by the time we get to later by noontime or so, looks like that'll be pushed on off. All right. So things improve in the northeast. But then we're going to watch later in the afternoon here, as we get towards 6 o'clock, we start seeing those thunderstorms start to fire up here across portions of East Texas. So, and then, of course, we're seeing the mountain snows as that next system kind of plows inland there, dumping some snows there. So watch what happens here through the overnight as we go ahead and take a look at that area down toward Texas. We got a pretty decent squall line there coming in from Louisiana, moving down to the coastline. So this will move all the way down into Houston there. So we're talking about through the overnight hours from about midnight on Christmas Eve going down toward Houston, going into Christmas morning. So again, could see some pretty gusty winds with that as that pushes on out into the Gulf of Mexico there going into Christmas morning. Then it kind of takes a little bit of a break. We got a little bit of snow here falling from the interior from that storm that moved inland. And then we got a very vigorous storm system out here on the west coast be coming in here late in the day on Christmas. So watch this as that kicks on in. You notice by the time we get toward Christmas night, looks like the interior is there, like Leavenworth up there, Leavenworth up there into Washington State. They'll probably get some pretty heavy snows up that way for the interior sections. Oregon getting some heavy snows for Christmas night, and that'll continue as that system begins to move on inland. Now we're going to talk about the jet stream here, as again we're going to see it kind of modify in the sense as these storm systems progress in. We're going to take a little bit of a break. The cold air is going to take a break here for the week. Okay, so this is not going to be coming on in. We got a storm system here. We're going to see several of these smaller systems that'll be kind of tracking into some milder air that'll be moving in across the country. So we got that one system there. While we're watching this next little disturbance here that'll be coming into the southeast, that little disturbance there going into Saturday that will need to be watched closely, as I think we might get another potential for severe weather with that going into Saturday and Sunday. And then we'll see that push on through going into Sunday. See that big trough digging in there going into Sunday? So that is the reason why going into Sunday, I'll be watching that zone for potential severe weather there. And this will be the first cool down coming into going in toward the first. Okay, as we go in toward the first, that's when we'll get our first little nice cool down there coming in, going in toward the 1st of January. And then we'll see several little waves kind of falling upon this. What is happening in the atmosphere is what I'm most interested in, and the fact that we're going to be seeing some stratospheric warming taking place across Canada here this week. And as a result of that, it's going to displace a lot of cold air. I'm going to show you that here in just a second. But you see these waves of cold air just going to continue to circulate around as we're basically starting to get a little bit of the polar vortex and these cold air masses just kind of circulating around like that as we go toward the end of this run. So we'll see these progressively colder temperatures taking place, okay? So let's go ahead and take a look here at the precipitation outlook. Now this is going to change a lot beyond 7 days. So let's focus on the next 7 days first. As we've just showed you what happened for the next couple days. We're going to watch that next system come on out here into the plain. So as we go into the 27th and 28th, we're seeing that storm system here, initial one here, kind of pushing off toward the east. We got a lot of snows out here into the Intermountain region here going into the 27th, okay? And then as we go into this upcoming weekend, we'll watch the system get more invigorated here. This here going into Sunday needs to be watched closely. I think this potentially could be some severe weather with that. Again, marginal, maybe slight, about what we're expecting here in a couple of days. That's what would be impacting the southeast with some pretty decent rains there. And then this pushes on off, and then we'll see another system come on off. So there'll be kind of a flurry of these, kind of one after another. And as they do so, what I'm noticing is we get progressively colder. Notice by the time we get toward the 1st, that freezing line is sitting way down here toward the south. Okay, that's where it is by the 1st. Whereas when you look back here, go back to like the 20, go back here to like to the 28th or so, 27th, 28th. Notice it is way up here toward the north. It is way to the north. So we're going to see progressively colder shots coming here as we go into the future. So let me go back here to the 1st once again, as we're watching that go on through, and then we'll see that 540 line goes way far to the south by the time we get into the 2nd here, way far into the southeast once again. We'll get the lake effect snows going here once again across portions of the Great Lakes states. And we'll see how this goes here again, is that cold air kind of stays locked in place. We'll see these little disturbance, little quick moving systems here. This one moving in here on the 6th. We'll see some snows across the Ohio River Valley, rains here in the southeast. And again, the placement of this is going to differ quite a bit. All right, so anything beyond about 7 to 10 days, you're really going to be looking at an extrapolation at this point. But what I'm seeing with the model trends here is that we're going to see a displacement of cold air that's going to keep this series of cold air. And because of that, and where those disturbances ride with wherever that polar vortex or that center of that cold air sets up, it's going to adjust. It's going to change. So just, again, you need to stay up on these consistently as we go in through January. Now, I want to talk about the thunderstorms here real quick. This is the K index. This kind of shows me where the thunderstorm threat is. Obviously, we're watching this zone here for today. That's what's coming in here for right now. And then we're going to watch it again later in the week. So watch this kind of continue. That didn't look too bad there. And then we see another one there. You see another little line here forming here on the 27th. This goes into the 27th, the 28th. And it really picks up significantly here. Notice this as we go in toward the 29th. Boom, you're going into Alabama and Georgia. Those are pretty high K-index readings. Not necessarily saying they're going to be severe, but I think marginal risk is definitely, I think, in the cards based off what the jet stream looks like there. It's just a question of how mild it's going to be there. So I believe we'll get some thunderstorms there. Then once the pattern begins to change after the 1st, and this will be the last little system moving through there, you don't see much of way of thunderstorms there because the whole continent pretty much turns a lot colder. So the best chance for thunderstorms is really going to be this week up until about, say, the 30th and 31st, and then after that, it kind of settles on down. So let's go ahead and take a look at the precipitation totals here. We're going to talk about the next 72 hours here. Again, we're going to get some of this is going to be snows here, obviously, across portions of New England. Not going to amount to a whole lot. We'll watch some heavier rains down here and the rains out on the west coast here, taking us here for the next 72 hours or so. So we'll take this on out here through about 72 hours. So you can see where that's going to be right there for the next 3 days. So definitely next 3 days, we're going to see heavy rains out here on the west coast. Obviously, the system that we got here for today and into tomorrow. That will be the main key there. Then beyond the 7 days, we take the 3 day, we'll take it on out another 7 days. Get my mouth to work here for you. We're going to go out to 240. So it takes us out to about 240 here, and you see a lot of the country getting some pretty decent rains here. The only place where it's going to stay dry is going to continue to stay dry is out here across the southwest. But I mean, mammoths of feet of snow in the Pacific Northwest will continue and down into Northern California, and a lot of heavy snow there. Looks like we get some pretty decent precipitation totals there across New England as well. So what about the snow totals? How's that looking? Let's look at the snow here. So as far as Christmas Eve is concerned, again, we get a little bit of snow this morning across the Northeast. That's where we're going to get here across the Northeast. Notice the interior sections here, the higher mountain snows. That'll be a pretty good blast there across California and the Northwest for your Christmas Eve. So we'll continue this on. This right here is midnight. So by the time we get to midnight tonight, this is where your snows are falling. It looks like mostly out toward the west. That stuff in the New England area, that has since come to an end, but you'll have some light accumulations there. Going into Christmas Day, looks like we'll be watching the interior sections of the mountains. So the interior sections out here, you'll see a little bit of snow there falling out that way, going into Christmas Day, and then that will come to an end here about midnight. So that's going into Christmas night, going into the 26th. All right, let's go ahead and take us out to 10 days here. We'll see again that snow is really pack on in feet out there in the Pacific Northwest and down in Northern California. We'll see a little snow there with the system there coming in on the 30th, looks like there. And then as we take this on out to 240, definitely seeing as the pattern begins to start indications of change. Notice the snow starting to pick up across portions of Canada. A lot of heavy snows out here in the Intermountain region and a little bit across the areas of New England. That's really going to pick up, especially with that cold pattern really starts to kick in after the 1st of January, okay? That's when it starts to pick on up there a little bit. So let's go ahead and talk about the temperatures. I'm going to take this in two forms. We're going to look at the temperature anomalies first, and then I'm going to show you the actual air temperatures. A couple things I want to point out. Okay, so as we go ahead and look at this again for this week ahead, for the most part here across most of North America, it is looking awfully red here. I mean, especially across Canada. Very warm, very warm. So what's happening later this week is we're going to get not only warming at the lower levels there across Canada, it's going to go all the way up into the stratosphere. When the stratosphere warms like this, the polar vortex gets dislodged because the polar jet stream basically goes, disappears. Because normally it's a semi-permanent feature that is well up here toward the north. It's up near the pole and it's just kind of circulating around there. So what's going to end up happening is as that warming is taking place, we're going to start tapping some of this cold air. It's going to start coming down like this and coming all over. And it looks like it's going to set up shop across a big part of North America going into the first week of January. At least that's what the current long-range forecast model is showing. So up until this time, it stays warm, relatively mild across most of the country. Then as we go into the first, we get our initial cool down here across the southeast. Notice it still says warm up here compared to normal, but at least it'll start coming down a bit, okay, where it's supposed to be. Then as we go in toward the 4th, that's when we get another nice little shot there. Notice we're starting to see this clear path all the way from the Arctic coming all the way down this way here. And we're saying goodbye to that very warm air there across northeast portions of Canada there. So as this goes on by, as I take this all the way out, notice as we go toward the 7th of January, a big, large part of the continent, and not just into Canada. I got a little warm sector there, kind of between cold shots there. But a big part of the continent is going to be looking at below normal temperatures. I want you to look at the actual air temperatures here, so I'm going to show you the actual air temperatures here. Let me back this up. We're going to talk about air temperatures here. I want you to look at this. So again, right now, you notice this color up here. This is all your below zero temperatures here. Very unusual to see it that far north. Okay. For sure. And what you're going to notice here as I take you through this is you're going to see how much of the continent is not only going to see those below zero temperatures, but we're talking 40 to 50 below zero temperatures maybe coming into place here. So going for this week ahead, boy, look how warm it is up there and up into Canada. It is. I mean, the purples, which are basically 20 degrees Fahrenheit, it starts to evaporate away. I mean, look how warm it is here in the middle. These temperatures are above freezing up near the Hudson Bay. This is unbelievable seeing that going into the 28th. But again, watch what happens here as we go from the 28th and we take this thing all the way out to the end. We start seeing a massive increase there below zero temperatures. And when I take it all the way out, it is really very, very cold here across areas here of Canada. You're seeing a larger area there of below zero temperatures. And I think as we go into January, as this thing fills up, I always like to use the bowl analogy. You're taking a bowl of water, you're filling up. Some of this is going to be breaking free. Okay, there's just no way around that as that low gets dislodged and it comes a little bit further to the south. So we're going to be looking at some very, very cold temperatures there, and some of the upper areas there could begin pushing up near 40 below zero with some of those temperatures as we go into January. So it's supposed to be January. It's wintertime, right? It's supposed to see that kind of stuff. So it's good to see. But they're going to be very mild here for this week. It's going to be really a tale of two seasons for those guys up there. So again, recashing the climate outlook here, showing the 29th through the 2nd. We're warm from coast to coast. That's going to continue. But we start to see the indications of the change as we're going out to the 6th. Below normal across the southeast, up to the high plains, a little warmer up here in a couple of sections. This will begin to change today. I think today's outlook will change a little bit. We'll see a little more blue on this map progressively as we go out to 8 to 14 days. So when this becomes the 7th, the 8th, this is going to change more and more blue, I think, here across the continental United States. Looking at precipitation, we've saw this. The 10-day, we were clearly showing not much of rain threat down here across Southern California into the southwest and parts of Texas. This is from the 29th through the 2nd there. And then as we go into the 31st to the 6th, definitely getting a little more active, a little more snows, I think, potentially across the high plains here. Briefly below average with the precipitation across the southeast, a little bit above across the northeast, and continues to stay dry out there in the areas of the southwestern portion of the United States. So it's going to get active, folks. We got to deal with some thunderstorms this week. That's going to be the big thing for this week. We get to watch that. And then we got to watch out for the potential for the cold air to come on down. Yeah, I switched hats. Get in the holiday spirit here a little bit here on this Christmas Eve. So again, I am very grateful and very honored to have you guys here on board on this channel. You know, a little over a year ago, year and 3 months ago, we started this thing, and now we're getting ready to cross 5,600 followers or subscribers here on the channel. And I look forward to serving you guys again here in 2025. Now, I'm going to be off for a couple days, Christmas, Christmas Day, and the day after I'll be with some family down in Florida. But we'll be back here with an update for you here on Friday as we're going to track what I think is going to be a fairly active January for you, okay? We'll keep an even keel. Looks like I think we'll get progressively colder, and then we really got to watch how that jet stream sets up there for potential winter storms. So I think we're going to see frigid temperatures, and I think we're going to see some pretty decent snowstorms, I think, as we go into January. So you got to keep your guard up, got to keep informed. So just stay right here, and I'll keep you up to date on what you can expect here this upcoming winter. All right, that's your update for now. Again, you guys take it easy, be good, stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.